To me, it seems like you have a pretty good grasp at understanding or feeling what your fears are, but
Yeah,
still pushing them to the side and executing anyway. And
right.
I feel like a lot of people struggle with that and they just get stuck at that fear stage. They get stuck at that blocker stage or the excuse stage. What's your advice to people who are stuck there and want to get out so they get past that to actually execute?
Yeah, no, my three main things that I hit on when I speak, the three pillars I speak about in my book. Number one is, what is your vision for your life? Like, what are your goals? Like, what are your dreams? I think that I challenge people to stop accepting their life for what it is and to lead yourself to where you want to go. Like, what is that dream or goal that you have? And I pair that with the secret, like, asterisk is, what's your why for your life? Like, why do you do what you do? What's your driving force? And for me, like, my why is my wife and my three kids and the people that speak. And that motivates me enough to do it when I don't feel like doing it, to push past that fear, because I want my kids to have an amazing life. I want the people in the world to be a positive impact to them. So on the days that I don't feel like doing certain things, or maybe you have the fear of doing it, I attach that why to it, because when you have something bigger than yourself, you're willing to push through.
Welcome to Harry Handles It, a podcast where we dive into the world of personal growth, success strategies, and everything in between. I'm your host, Harry Nalbandyan, and today we're going to chat with an incredible guest who has some amazing insights to share. Remember, no matter what life throws your way, I'm here to help you handle it. So let's get started.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
Hey, we got the wonderful David Atkins on the Harry Handles It podcast today. David, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Please tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much. Well, of course, I know you're on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. So a little bit about me. I'm a retired New York State police captain. So I was a New York State trooper for 22 years here in New York. I was a first responder on September 11th. So I was down at Ground Zero for many weeks after that happened. We also, the end of my career before I retired, Ground Zero for COVID that we've all been through is in the county that I ran as a captain. So that was in New Rochelle. So I dealt with that. But parallel to that, I also built $1 million direct sales business online to an international team of 1,400 people with a health and wellness company you may have heard of. I'm sure people have heard of Beachbody. P90X is a big fitness program. Also published a book, The Leveled Up Life, with a second book coming. I'm also a motivational keynote speaker. I travel all over the country speaking to thousands of people, bringing my motivational message, my one decision away philosophy to them. I also have a podcast. And I would also like to say, most importantly, I'm a married father of 3 girls. So I'm a girl dad, and that means a lot to me as well. I always like to say that, incorporate that as well. So I'm a family man, to say the least. So here I am.
That's the most important thing, man. And that's
Yeah.
an impressive career lineup. And
Thank
how
you.
did you go from police captain managing a team of police officers to, developing your direct sales business to becoming a keynote speaker? What was that? What was that
like?
path like?
Yeah. It's a great question. It's kind of my trajectory of my life, and how it basically happened was about, I would say, 15 years ago. My wife and I was a state trooper at the time. I was the rank of investigator, which was detective for our business. My wife was a school teacher with her master's degree plus 60 credits. But we were 6 figures in debt. We were at a different place than we were in now. I like to always share and be vulnerable and be honest when I speak, that I was in a different place then than I am now. I mean, 6 figures in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, that whole thing. You make more, you spend more. Well, we were the epitome of that. And, we were like in survival mode. I like to say we were accepting our life for what it is instead of really leading our life to where we want to go. And I remember just saying, like, this can't be all that it's about. And I remember my wife, we also physically, I was 20 pounds heavier than I was now. And she struggled to lose the baby weight from having 2 kids, 2 daughters, eventually going to 3. And I just remember, Harry, like this pivotal moment where I sat my wife down, not when the kids were running around in the kitchen around dinner time, which is like the chaotic time, the bath time, but sitting her down and just looking her in the eye and just saying, like, we can't live like this. Like, we're on the path of potential divorce. We're constantly stressed out. We're arguing over things like the grocery bills, simple things. And that was a moment where we decided, she agreed, and I had all that fear if she was going to hear me out, but I had that conversation with her. And the first thing that we did, which kind of leads into part of my story, was we made the decision to take care of our physical health, to take care of our health, and I'm a big believer that, yes, the physical results are the byproduct, but more importantly, that when we started exercising, we became less stressed. We had more energy. We were able to manage our time more effectively, with all of those byproducts of the mental benefits that we needed. And we started doing that by doing a fitness program called P90X, at home fitness program, which I was dead against. Like, I was a guy that went to the gym. I've run New York City Marathon before. My buddy was trying to get me to do it. And I'm like, P90X, I don't do this at home Richard Simmons workout. It took like months. It took months, but I ultimately tried it because I got sent to Houston, Texas. I know this is a little bit off the beaten path, but I got sent to Houston, Texas to look for a witness of a homicide case. And we found the witness of the case, and we were done early in the day. And I wanted to go see the Houston Astros baseball game. I'm a big baseball fan. I'm a New York Met fan, so it's been a great year, by the way. But I said, hey, let's go see the Astros play. And my buddy, trying to get me to do P90X, my partner, a fellow investigator, is like, I'll do P90X, but you got to do like this ab workout that I've been trying to get you to do from P90X. And I did it, and it killed me. Like, I couldn't even keep up. So at the time, after speaking to my wife, we decided to do the fitness program. We made that one decision. This is kind of my one decision away philosophy. It's my life, is that one decision led me to a business opportunity that I didn't know existed with the company Beachbody. It was a direct sales, multi-level marketing business, the pyramid scheme that everybody says doesn't work. Why are you wasting your time? But at the time, we were in this debt, and I said, why not give it a try? We became walking billboards. Like, we had great results from P90X. So people like, what were you doing? And we leaned into this business. And in 2 years, we paid off 6 figures in debt and built a team a few years later to 1,400 people internationally, United Kingdom, Canada, USA. And that business, then I like to say, I feel for me as a person, a man of faith, just like God revealed to me a gift I didn't know I had, which for me was speaking, because Beachbody started asking me to speak at their quarterly events and conferences. It was 15 people in a library, then it was 100, then it was 1,000. Then I'm speaking to 20,000 people in the NFL Superdome, and people were in my ear, like executives, like, David, have you ever thought of being a keynote speaker? You have a gift, like, you inspire and motivate sharing your story and what you did. And I'm like, a speaker? Like, I have 3 daughters. I run an entire county with the state police. We handled 400,000 to 500,000 911 calls a year in our 911 center. I had this full-time business with Beachbody. Like, no, I haven't. But in 2021, I like to say I fueled my faith and starved my fears. And I took that leap of faith and made that one decision to become a keynote speaker right when there are no events, right? 2021 pandemic happened. Everything's closed down. But then I used that time to write. I never was a writer in college or anything, but I felt like through my success in Beachbody and taking personal development very serious, which was one of my secrets, I believe, to success, was reading books, self-help books, personal development from unbelievable leaders like Darren Hardy, Brendan Bouchard, John Maxwell, all of these people. It changed the way I showed up in life as a captain, as a dad. And I wrote a book on what I felt were the pillars of success called The Leveled Up Life. So that published in 2022. And now the last couple of years, I've been speaking to thousands of people in all sorts of industries: real estate, engineering, insurance. I'm speaking for the Indiana Bankers Association in a couple of weeks. So all over. And I realized how I kind of came here at my next book coming out, Harry. I was on stage last spring, and I started just challenging people on stage, saying, stop overcomplicating your life. There's one decision that you need to make in your life right now, and it's different for everybody. For some of you, it may be your health. For others, it may be to improve your relationship. For you, it may be to start that side business. It may be applied for that promotion. It's different for everybody, but stop overcomplicating your life. There's one decision you can make today that can completely change your life. And I said, I would not be standing here in front of all of you if I didn't have the one conversation with my wife 15 years ago, because that one decision led to the next and to the next. And ultimately, I wouldn't even be on this podcast if it wasn't for me making that one decision to talk to my wife. And then I'm a big believer that life will reveal to you what you need to do next if you're willing just to make the one decision that you know you need to do in your life to improve yourself, to move forward. So that's a long-winded answer, but does that make sense?
Absolutely, man. That story resonates so much with me
Oh,
because I remember starting out. I was in law school. My wife is in the master's program. She's working
okay.
2 jobs. She worked hospital administration, and for our dates after law school, after I'd done whatever I needed to do for that night, I'd go to her second job at the hospital, and we'd go and they'll take a little walk around the hospital, and that'd be our date while we were dating in law school.
I like
Uh,
that.
and so I had just taken the bar exam to become a licensed attorney, and there's a waiting period, a few months you have to wait to see if you pass
Yes.
or not. And my wife and I are on one of these dates, and we're in my car, and she turns around, she looks at me, she goes, "Harry, what are you gonna do if you don't pass?"
Hmm.
And I look at her, and that thought never really crossed my mind,
Mm.
And I looked at her and I said, "I'm gonna open up a body shop." And she's like, "What?" And then that started our little spiral of that kind of hard conversation of what's going to happen if we don't pass? What's going to happen if you can't get that license? And I just told
Mm.
her, maybe it was a little bit of foolish conviction, a foolish confidence. And I've definitely had that forever, this undeniable, maybe unreasonable belief in myself.
Yeah, no, you need that.
Yeah. And so I look at her and I said, "There's just no way that's not going to happen, and
Mm.
we're going to get to the finish line because we wanted to get married, have a wedding, start a family, but all of that was kind of on hold because crushing debt, school debt.
Mm.
I don't have a job. She has 2 jobs, uh, so that story resonates really hard. And fast forward, a few years, 10 years now, not a few, almost a decade later, we have 3 wonderful children.
Oh, wow.
And we've had those hard conversations time and time again,
Mm.
particularly something I struggled with my whole life. I've kind of been the fat kid forever, and so health has always been on the forefront of my mind for a long time. And after we had our son David, COVID had just hit.
Mm.
Gyms were closed.
Yep.
There was no real outlet other than just kind of going outside and doing whatever you could do. So I looked at my wife and I said, "Look, I have to make the selfish decision here to focus on this. And that means that I got to have to take time away from us, from whatever we do, so that I could be better for everybody."
Mm.
Circling back to your one decision away from changing,
Yeah.
um, I mean, that resonates really, really hard because not only do you have to make that one decision, but it seems like you also have an awareness of different opportunities that may present themselves to you
Mm-hmm.
that other people may have a hard time with. The
Right.
executive coming and telling you, "Hey, you should be a keynote speaker." I'm sure there was other series of events like that that happened throughout the course of your career in life
Mhm.
where you were tuned to, "Hey, this can take me down a different path."
Right.
But I feel like a lot of people maybe miss that opportunity that's right in front of their face.
No, absolutely. And I'm a big believer, and I heard it from a friend of mine. She used to say, listen to the whispers, meaning like follow your gut instinct, And for me, it was always like I felt that pulling, whether it was I need to get healthy and fit. And to your point, like I like to say, our kids deserve the best of us, not what's left of us, right? And by
Absolutely.
me taking care of our health, I felt like my wife, my kids, my subordinates at work, when I'm a speaker, like they get the best version of me. And that's kind of how it started. But I think people do hesitate. And it's because of often the number one thing, it's because of fear. It's the fear of failure or the procrastination or fear of comparison. There's all these obstacles that I think get in the way of people from following their heart. But at the same time, there's so many people out there. I remember hearing Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure you've heard of him. He did a study and was interviewing a lot of the elderly in nursing homes. And he said, tell me a little bit about your life. Is anything, what you have to say? And so many started with, I wish I did this. I wish I did that, and hearing that saying, struggle is less painful than regret. That for me scares me. Like that's when I knew I had everybody against me. Everybody was against me leaving the state police in New York because I was on the verge of getting promoted probably within the year to major. I had a great career. I loved the state police. I was a trooper of the year. Like I had a great career. But for me, it's that I felt that if I didn't try and lean into that fear of being a speaker, something that came natural to me, later on I would live with regret, and that scares me. And that's why, like, even with every day I show up, it's like, what can I do today? Because I don't want to ever look back as I get older and say, I wish I did this or I wish I did that. And so much is that just through my own growth journey, so I
Yeah.
hear you on all of those things.
So walk me through your evolution as a leader, because I feel like the more people I talked to, there's always an evolutionary path. Change. I mean,
Yeah.
you mentioned a lot of reading and books. John Maxwell specifically, I love all of his stuff.
Right.
How has the change been to your approach to leadership and eventually the evolution of that?
It's the secret to success. Like I remember for the first 2 years of building my Beachbody business, I hit a point in my business and I wasn't growing anymore. My income didn't go up. And a mentor of mine was like, David, what are you doing for your personal growth? What are you reading? And I'm like, reading nothing. I don't need that. Like, you think you know it all. Like, I was a state trooper, I was an investigator. Like, I don't need that rah-rah stuff. But little did I know that when I started reading books like John Maxwell, and the first book that I read with him was the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And he talks about the law of the lid. Like, as a leader, you only are going to develop people below you as high as your level of personal growth, right? And there was so much I learned there. And once the evolution for me was like, okay, fine, I will do the bare minimum, which the company recommended, which was 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day, I will read or listen to a personal development book. And fast forward to now, it's a book a month. Every morning before I work out, there's an hour I spend of my own personal growth, from focusing on gratitude in the beginning. I think that's something people get away with. We so focus on what we don't have in life. So I focus on practicing gratitude every day. I have my prayer. I pray in the morning, and then I'm reading personal development every single morning, because too often this is what we let Harry dictate how we think. Like, this is somebody else's agenda. And if we wonder why we're so stressed out all the time, think the world's ending, is because most people spend on average about 3 hours a day scrolling social media or checking their notifications. So, like, my evolution today is, like, right now there is nothing but my family's photo. My notifications are off on my phone. I don't see how many emails, how many numbers are in the corner of my Facebook. Like, I'm here to be with you, and like I like to say, be where your feet are. And I'm present here, so that before I go to bed the night before, my phone goes on do not disturb. My notifications are off. My banners are up. I wake up in the morning. I'm not checking somebody else's agenda, is what I call my phone. I do my personal development in the morning. And this did not happen overnight, to your point. It started with 10 minutes, but the more I did it and the more I grew and the more I surrounded myself with people winning in life and succeeding, I studied them and learned, like, they just show up differently, right? 98% of the world lives life by default. That's what studies show. 2% live life by design. So for me, I have to be intentional, a thing that John Maxwell talks about, being intentional, waking up, being intentional with my morning routine mentally, then my physical workout, then the rest of the day, I do my work. So for me, it hasn't happened overnight, but it started with 10 minutes a day. And then you stack your habits, like habit stacking. You keep adding, you keep getting better, and there's never an end to it. Like, I'm always trying to improve. I'm always trying to grow. I'm always trying to learn. And that even goes right to today. There's so much out there.
Any lessons that you took from managing a team as a captain for the state troopers? Captain, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Captain for the state troopers. That you believe, based on everything that you've seen and read so far, that you think helped you along the way? I mean, is managing a team of high performing, high stress individuals with the job have an impact?
Yeah. Zig Ziglar, the big thing that sticks out to me, he says, help enough people get what they want and you will get what you want. And how I applied that in my state police time, and I think about it, is the New York State Police is a very It's a very paramilitary organization. At the rank I am of captain, I walk in the room, everybody's jumping up to attention. They're saluting me. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Conversations are very short. And I've learned through personal development that when I started taking the time to speak to my troopers, how are you? How is your family? How is your kids? How is your vacation? What's going on at home? And I actually invested my time to get to know them when that was kind of foreign for them, and even still is today. It's just the way I decided to change my leadership. Instead of, between me and my troopers having that wall of, you got to go through my lieutenants and a couple layers of sergeants, I would take the time to go to the barracks and sit down when they were eating and just kind of break bread with them and get to know them. Because this is what happened, Harry. Like, when I needed them to step up, when I needed them at maybe it was a volatile, crime scene or a barricaded subject, or maybe it's seatbelt enforcement week, National Seatbelt Enforcement Week. We got to go out there and spread the message. And yes, sometimes it's writing tickets, sometimes it's talking to people. And I said, hey, can you give me an hour? They would give me 2 hours. They would give me 3 hours. They work twice as hard for me. Why? Because, and it's back to like John Maxwell, I say, it's the 5 levels of leadership, right? There's that positional leader where it's just your title. I'm the captain, you respect me. Then the next one is when you start showing that you care about them, the people like, this captain cares about me, and they'll give permission for you to lead them. And then the third level is they want to work for you harder because they see that you care about them. So for me, as I read personal development and leadership, it was more about not being in charge, but helping the people in your charge, which is another thing that Simon Sinek talks about. Like all these things come to me because this is how I operate. But because I did that, I had troopers that were 10 times more productive, that went out of their way, that wanted to do more for me, even if I didn't need it. And I applied the same thing to my Beachbody business, building leaders to build my team. And I still apply it today with my kids and the people that I interact with. I think it's so important. I think the whole idea of being a positional leader and having a title, I'm the CEO, I'm the boss, you listen to me, it doesn't work anymore. And I think it's more about when people see how much you care about them, they're more apt to want to do more for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely less efficient. If you're a positional leader, stuff might still get done, but people aren't going to love it. And
right.
For me, having started, so I was working for a firm for the first 3-4 years of me practicing as a lawyer, and then I decided to jump ship and start my own practice group in 2019. So I did. It was a good year, started it up, and then bam, COVID. No trials, no jury trials, courts are closed, no one's driving, no one's going out. What happens next? And so over the course of the last 5 years, I've built a team from my 1 to 2 person practice group to having 25, 30 plus members.
Wow.
And the biggest takeaway that I had from reading John Maxwell, from listening to people like you, is you really got to develop the people within your team to gain maximum leverage to be able to accomplish all of your goals. So
absolutely,
because you help other people accomplish their goals, they in turn, it doesn't necessarily have to be stated, but they in turn will help you accomplish your own.
Absolutely. And the biggest level of leadership is when you can develop your people to become leaders. So I think of like my executive assistant that's been with me now. I have a small team of people, but my EA that's been with me now for a bunch of months, I'm always trying to send her voice messages and giving feedback and growing. And she so appreciates it because her success is my success. I want to invest in her because I think that's super important, and building that personal connection. But like you said, it is so important to develop your people. That's where the magic is. And that's where you're going to exponentially grow, is when you develop other leaders around you and then they go out there and they're leading. It's only going to positively impact the world and help you.
Big time.
Yeah.
So walk me through, how did you decide to write the book? How did you come up with the topic? And what was the creative process like in developing it?
Oh, no, that's a good question. So my first book, The Leveled Up Life, which came out in 2022, really was me saying, there's these pillars of success that I feel were critical to my success in my life. And I also share a tragedy I went through. Like, my best friend was shot and killed in the line of duty. And I like to say life doesn't always fire a warning shot. And so often when it comes to our goals and dreams, we talk about we're going to do it when we have more time or we're less busy. And I like to say we may not be here tomorrow. So for me, that kind of was a light bulb moment to go after my goals and dreams, to do the personal development. So my first book was about the pillars of success that I felt are important to live the leveled up life. That was my first book. And then people were asking me, Harry, the last couple of years when I was speaking, are you going to write another book? Are you going to write another book? And my answer simply at the time was no, not right now, because it has to come to me. Like I'm not a researcher. Like I have to feel it as a motivational speaker. It's got to be a message that resonates with me. And like I shared earlier, it was when I was on stage and I started just saying, just make the one there's one decision you need to make in your life right now, and then life will reveal to you what's next, or the universe or God or whatever you believe in. And then afterwards in my book signing, how this kind of happened is people were coming up to me and I was signing books like, David, I got it, one decision. I got to make the one decision. I got it, one decision. Then the next event, maybe a week or 2 weeks later in my book signing, it happened again. David, I got it. I got to make the one decision. That's when I kind of had the light bulb moment of one decision away. And then I'm like, this can be my second book. So then the creative process was a year ago, it was actually last July, I started putting together the ideas for the second book. And what I do for me, for my writing, is I just started brain dumping on a big piece of paper all of the thoughts or ideas that came to my mind when it applies to the one decision away philosophy. And when I looked at them and I circled them all and they were like bubbles, those I said, all right, these are going to be my chapters, right? If it makes sense. But then when I looked at them, I go, there's some interesting things here. Is that I notice half of these things I have bubbled chapters are the obstacles that you will face to make that one decision in your life. And then the other half are like the tools that I use to make sure I move forward to do it. So then I'm like, all right, I have two parts of my book, right? I have the obstacles. Like one of them is it's going to be lonely along the way. What do I mean by that? Every time I decided to level up, or every time I'm doing the work, you're often by yourself. You're often going to have people that are not going to support you. It's the late nights when nobody's watching you, or the early mornings you're putting in the work and you do feel lonely, and it's okay to feel lonely. But like, that's an obstacle you have to face. So I had the two parts of my book, and then I just started writing for the last year. And now this book will be publishing July 15th. And I'm excited about it because it's kind of been the trajectory of my life. Like I shared with you, from the state police to doing P90X to building a business, improving my marriage, then speaking. And like, that's been for me. And where will life take me? I don't know, but I'm always like, what's the next one decision that I can make? So that was kind of the creative process. It is a lot of work. Writing a book is not for the faint of heart, but it's worth it because you can make a bigger impact and reach more people with it.
So to me, it seems like you have a pretty good grasp at understanding or feeling what your fears are, but still pushing them to the side and executing anyway.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people struggle with that, and they just get stuck at that fear stage. They get stuck at that blocker stage or the excuse stage. What's your advice to people who are stuck there and want to get out so they get past that to actually execute?
Yeah, my three main things that I hit on when I speak, the three pillars I speak about in my book. Number one is, what is your vision for your life? Like, what are your goals? Like, what are your dreams? I think that I challenge people to stop accepting their life for what it is, and to lead yourself to where you want to go. Like, what is that dream or goal that you have? And I pair that with the secret, like, asterisk is, what's your why for your life? Like, why do you do what you do? What's your driving force? And for me, like, my why is my wife and my 3 kids and the people that speak. And that motivates me enough to do it when I don't feel like doing it, to push past that fear, because I want my kids to have an amazing life. I want the people in the world to be a positive impact to them. So on the days that I don't feel like doing certain things, or maybe you have the fear of doing it, I attach that why to it, because when you have something bigger than yourself, you're willing to push through. So for me, it was the mindset of having a why, overall. And then number one, having a vision for your life. And then for me, it was the personal development. I think that, you don't know what you don't know. There's that saying, you don't know what you don't know. So when I started reading personal development and I started changing the way I saw things with my mindset, which was the number 2 thing I speak on, is having a positive mindset and understanding you can control what happens to you in the outside world, right? We can't control the pandemic. We can't control the circumstances, the economy, the election, whatever you believe in, but you can control how you react. Our attitude is a choice. How we show up is a choice. So for me, I had to flip my mindset. And I talk about that in my book. It's how you show up in life every single day. It's a choice. Stop playing victim mentality and have victor mentality. So that was like 2. And the third is just living with a sense of urgency. And I really share that, when I lost my best friend, I realized life doesn't fire a warning shot, and tomorrow's not guaranteed for everybody. And every day is a blessing and is a gift. And you want to show up today and not live with regret in your life. So again, it's for me, it's the vision, it's the mindset, it's living with urgency. I attach it to a why, and that helps me push through to keep going each day. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
In your work as a state trooper, did you ever go to court to testify about stuff that you found, or as a detective?
Hundreds of times. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's wild because the message I craft to a jury, if I'm trying a case, it takes time to develop that message because you have to frame it the right way.
Right.
For
Right.
12 people to really resonate, for that message to resonate with 12 people.
Right.
And I feel like it's the same when it comes to your mindset or just the inner thoughts that go on in your mind, because it's wild. I mean, the stuff in there, the stuff in your head is the same
Right.
stuff that was there 20 years ago.
Right.
But through reframing your thoughts and how you view certain situations, the world, events as they come to you, you can completely change the trajectory of where you're going.
Absolutely.
And it's through that little reframing method that you described before. But I feel like that's so difficult for some people
Yeah.
to be able to reframe. It's just kind of like a lot for me as a coach and a leader of
Yeah.
the team. I always try to see how I can reframe it for them, for it to resonate. But sometimes I miss the
No,
mark.
it's hard. And you have to pay, I say you have to pay the toll every day. Harry, it's very easy. It's very easy that if I don't do my personal development every single day, whether it's listening to a motivational video, making my car a mobile university, listening to a book, whatever it is, if I don't do that, it's very easy to start going down the negative self-doubt, fear path. Simply just turn on the news, right? Everything's sensationalized. Everything's about death, tragedy, negativity. It's not positive stuff. Go to social media. What are you doing? You're comparing yourself to others. And I like to say, don't compare your everyday life to the highlight reel you see on social media, because so often that's what we do. People are only willing to share the good things on social media. They're not willing to be vulnerable, but we all struggle. We all get knocked down. And for me, the message for me is to commit to personal growth, that you can live a bigger and better life, and you don't need to live that life by default. And it's not hard. And how one decision today, doesn't matter what you've been through in your past, no matter what trials and tribulations you had, no matter what obstacles, deaths, any of that, you're all only one decision away right now from making that shift and finally facing that fear, or not procrastinating, or having that goal. And it's that taking that first step. Motivation, I like to say, it's like people wait for motivation to start, but it's the other way around. When you start, you then start feeling motivated, right? And it's really backed in science, which I mentioned in my book. There's a part of your brain, it's called the ventral tegmental area, the VTA part of your brain. That's where it releases the dopamine, the feel-good chemicals. And then when like even on a random Saturday, you have a bunch of errands you need to run, just by getting those errands done, we all feel like that sense of accomplishment. We feel good. It's that dopamine release. Well, life's the same way. Like, don't wait to be motivated to start. Make the one decision, whatever it is in your life, and then you'll feel a sense of accomplishment and it'll propel you forward. But it's not going to start unless you're willing to be intentional, make that change. Too many people live in the victim mentality, and that for me, I just don't operate that way. You got to surround yourself. And that's the other thing. Your environment's everything. You got to surround yourself with engines in your life, not anchors. I like to say, people that lift you up, not bring you down.
That's awesome. Big time, man. Yeah. Yes. You hit all the nails on the head.
Yeah.
Better than I could have ever done.
No,
So can you tell me from your journey,
yeah,
how somebody who, and I represent personal injury claims,
Okay.
people with personal injuries, and sometimes some of the stuff is horrific, catastrophic, like irreversible. I'm sure
Right.
you've seen some of it. throughout your investigative career with the state troopers. I mean, you get hit by a car going fast enough, sometimes things will never be the same. But seeing some of those clients go through that adversity, but still be resilient, have a smile on their face, and do the best they can is, for me, it's like one of the most rewarding things that I can see in one of my clients, and who we work hard for to try to make a shitty situation a little bit better for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny. I've had a client who's in a wheelchair, but he was the happiest guy I have ever seen. Every time he came to our office, he had a huge smile on his face, super grateful, big gratitude. And the things I took from that is like this, despite being in this situation that this person was never in before, or even probably imagined that they'd spend their life in a wheelchair, they still showed up.
Right.
They were still happy, and they were still there trying to get things done.
Right. Right. And it makes me wonder. It's probably because they have a new perspective on life. And like you said, they're grateful, and it makes them, maybe in those situations, I've seen people that the things that we worry about day in and day out, they realize it's such minutia because they're just happy to be alive. And, there's you can learn by your own experience, or you can learn 10 times faster through the experience of others. Right. That's why, reading books is great, but those people, their stories for what you do and the positive impact you do to help them, in turn, you're seeing how they're treating life and not taking it for granted and being grateful, which in turn probably makes you grateful that you are where you are right now and that you aren't in that position. And I just think it's unfortunate that sometimes tragedies of life like that is what it takes for people to realize what's truly important. If you have your health, right? If you have your health and you have people that love you, then everything else will work itself out. And for me, losing my best friend was that wake up call for me. And you deal with clients all the time that have that wake up call in their own life, but then in turn, because of how they show up, it positively impacts all of us.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I was recently having a conversation with one of my team members, a lawyer at our firm, who was just saying, "Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. It's just hard to get stuff done. This job is not easy, but it's doable." And I turned to him. I'm like, "Look, all this stuff aside, you were born in this country. You had parents who reasonably loved you, tried to do their best for you.
Right.
You have 99.9% of the equation down already.
Right.
Look at it through that lens, and then see what you can do to make things better for yourself." And I feel like that message resonated with that specific team member. And they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, man, you're right. When I take a step back, I kind of get out of the weeds and I look at it from, a 20,000 foot perspective. We got it pretty good."
Absolutely. It's finding gratitude, right? If you cannot be angry and grateful at the same time. You cannot be super sad and grateful at the same time. So if sometimes in the morning when I just go through my head early in the morning, like before everybody's up, I have my alone time. It's maybe I'm just grateful that I have food in the fridge, that I have clean water, because there's people that don't have that. Right. I don't have missiles flying over our house, that we have war going on in our country. Right. Like that level. So that kind of grounds us, or grounds people to be grateful, and like you said, you did with your coworker or your friend there. And I think that when we are struggling, I always like to say principles over emotions. And what I mean by that is, at the end of every principle, there's a promise. Principles are tried and true, right? Being consistent, having discipline during the hard times. We know that if you're consistent, you're disciplined, it will work out in the end. But principles over emotions means if we always make decisions based on our emotions, life is so hard, I got knocked down, I'm stressed out, I don't want to do it. Fear at the end of them is nothing, because in the end, it's never going to really get you anywhere, right? That's being on that soapbox. So if you can, on days like this morning, perfect example, I did a story on my Instagram. Like, I didn't feel like working out today. I'm dealing with a sports hernia that I've been battling. I couldn't do the workout I want. I was feeling tired. I got to bed late last night. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it because I know when I'm done, I'm going to feel better and it's going to propel me the rest of my day. And that's principle over emotion. Emotion, I don't want to do it. Principle, by exercising today, I know it will positively impact me. So I think, finding the gratitude, anchoring your life on tried and true principles of life, that will help you move forward. And it's a little bit each day. I think people think they need to have success overnight, right? You probably see it, that microwave mentality. I want to make $1 million tomorrow. Like, I spoke for free for 10 years for my company Beachbody to thousands of people before I got paid one penny. Like, people see me now, oh, you're speaking all over. Yes, but I'm in my 14th year now, and 10 years of it, I did it for free. So it's just the mindset. It's so much of the mindset and finding gratitude and living on those principles.
I love it, man. This was a very uplifting conversation, David.
Yes. Thank
Can you
you.
tell our viewers how to find you, where to find your book, where to find your podcast?
Yes. So my One Decision Away philosophy, my book will be out July 15th. It will be on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You'll find it online. And then you can find me on Instagram, David Atkins, or LinkedIn or Facebook, or I just started TikTok a couple months ago. Nice. So I'm all over social media, my website, David Atkins Speaks. But yes, my book's coming out, and thank you everybody for your support.
Thank you, David. And I hope to have you on the podcast again.
Thanks, Harry.
Thanks for joining us today on Harry Handles It. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and found some valuable takeaways. If you're facing challenges in your own life or business, remember that you're not alone. Together, we can handle anything that comes our way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you like what you heard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and handling life with confidence.